This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. We are back here in the studio. One of the questions that I've gotten via email here recently was about innovation leadership. Now, I've been writing a series over the last, 6 months or so over on my blog over at philmckinney.com. But one of the things I didn't cover, and one of the readers and listeners pointed this out to me, was what are some hacks that I have used throughout my career in the leadership space that others could apply if they're stepping into a leadership role or you are struggling in a leadership role when it comes to innovation. Now, there's leadership, whether you're a manager of a department, you're leading a team, you are running a larger organization, or you're the CEO. Now, there's basic leadership and leadership skills, and then there's leadership skills related specifically to innovation. If your responsibility is to build a team, run an organization, or lead an entire company, or NGO or government organization around innovation, what are some of those hacks that you can apply to that role? Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Being in the innovation leadership space for innovation is hard. It'll be the hardest thing you have ever done. So, tighten that belt, pull up your socks. This is hard. So don't sugarcoat it. It's not all the glory of, big product announcements or services launches and big revenue. And this is hard work. But there are some fundamental things that you need to have in place, that you need to kind of build up your leadership abilities around when it comes specifically to innovation. And I'm going to share with you 5 innovation leadership hacks or steps or fundamental elements or whatever you want to call them. I'm calling them innovation leadership hacks that you should have in place if you're going to be a top-notch leader when it comes to innovation. Now, this is different than what I've said in the past about what is a chief innovation officer. Now, in some cases, the chief innovation officer may or may not be the person over leading the innovation teams. This is truly nuts and bolts leadership around innovation. So what's number one? Number one for me is absolutely foundation. If you do not have this, do not start. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Don't even think about it. And that is, you have to create a foundation of integrity and transparency. This is absolutely foundational. Why? Because you're going to have the innovation antibodies coming after you and your team. And you have to have a level of trust as a leader that is 10 times more than any other leadership role. Because you and your team are going to be under constant attack. It just comes with the job. Think back in a role that you had, most likely before you were even in the innovation space, where someone, a manager, a leader in an organization, someone you looked up to, was dishonest, did not show integrity. How'd that make you feel? You pulled back. You didn't lean in. You kind of reevaluated whether or not you should move forward. You hesitated. None of those things can even enter the thought process when it comes to innovation within your organization. So, integrity and transparency. You're the leader, you need to act like one. You need to have a level of integrity and a level of transparency. You need to have that open kimono where you're showing it all to everybody, what's going on, how you're doing it, the decisions you're doing as part of the process. We're going to talk more about that here in a minute. But step one, and I'm pounding this. I know you're probably saying, okay, Phil, I get it. Get off of this. No. This is absolutely foundational. You need to take an honest look at yourself, and you need to take an honest look at your organization. if this is not part of your organizational culture, the odds of you being able to lead an innovation team that has high output is not existent. So you need to make integrity part of the culture. If it's not already part of the culture, you need to make it part of the culture. And you also don't forget about transparency. And I put those together very specifically. Because if you're transparent, it's hard to play games. It's hard to hide. It's hard to play, little quick things under the table if you're transparent. So transparency keeps you honest about your integrity. Now, why is this important? Because you're asking people to step up and do the absolute hardest thing they have ever done in their entire lives. Coming up with new products, new services, solve a big problem, solve world hunger, whatever your innovation agenda is, you are asking people to do the absolute hardest thing they have ever done. You owe them to be transparent. You need to be able to share everything with them, right? Here's an example. In my current role as a CEO, I made the conscious decision, and I've had this as kind of, again, one of my foundational things is being transparent keeps a check and balance on me, right? Not that I would ever, hopefully I would never knowingly be less than truthful or have high integrity. But we all need those checks and balances, and transparency keeps me honest, right? When I know that I've got to share what it is I'm doing and how I'm doing it and all the decisions I'm making, it keeps me on the straight and narrow when it comes to that role of integrity. So what are some examples? One is for instance, is budget. The budgeting process, how much we're spending, but more importantly, as part of that budget, but as part of all of our activities, for instance, with the board of directors, I will always show the slides and the materials that I am going to share to the board with all of the employees first before I even show it to the board of directors. Right? So there's no hidden agenda. I'm not saying one thing to the board and saying another thing to the employees and kind of playing a little quick and loose, by manipulating both ends. Anything and everything that I will present and talk about, I'll review the slides, but in some cases, if the slides aren't quite ready, I'll walk the entire employee base through the topics and what it is I'm going to say and all the little touchy, tricky issues with all of the employees in an all-hands meeting before I share it with the board. Now, this has been a little bit of an eye-opener. I've done it with teams, but doing it with an entire organization, all levels, from the receptionist at the front desk to the finance people to HR to engineering to you name it, the entire organization. What's been pleasantly surprising is that we have never had a leak. The information that I've shared in the all hands, I've never seen it leaked outside of the organization. It's that building of trust. You're asking people to do something really, really hard, and therefore you need to trust them. They need to trust you, and you do that with integrity and transparency. Now, there's a lot of other things that you need to be transparent on, not just budget, but objectives. What does success look like? Be clear on how you personally are going to measure success when it comes to the overall programs and projects that you're looking at. So, again, I know you're thinking, okay, Phil, you've beat the horse down to the hooves on this thing. I know, but let me tell you, I've seen organizations, I've been called in to do triage on everything from large multinationals down to smaller companies who've, struggling with their innovation. And when I look at their foundation, they're trying to build an organization that has high innovative impact on quicksand. And the quicksand is is a fundamental lack of integrity and a lack of transparency. You can't build trust, which is critical for the innovation process. If you don't do that, don't start. Don't even think about it. It's not worth it. Go fix your integrity and transparency problem, then come back and think about how you're going to do your innovations. So, we're going to step out to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation on the 5 innovation leadership hacks that you can apply to your organization today to be successful. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back to Killer Innovations. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. We're talking today about the 5 innovation leadership hacks that you can apply to your organization to be successful in being a leader of innovation and to lead your organization, your team, your company, your nonprofit to innovation success. So, we talked about number 1 in the last segment, which was to create a foundation of integrity and transparency. So what's number 2? Create a sense of mission. Make it more than just leading innovation. Make it more than just coming up with new ideas. Make it a mission. Answer the question that they're going to ask. Anybody that you're trying to recruit to your team, they're going to ask you this question. Why this is the most important thing they've ever done? Why should they sign on? Why are you asking them to climb Mount Everest? Why are you asking them to solve world hunger? You need to frame the mission of the team, the mission of the people that you're recruiting, into something that you can engage their passion on. Something that they are just absolutely going to commit heart, soul, energy, everything to be successful. Now, the way to do this, and the way that I do this, is I create it in the form of a BHAG, the bold, hairy, audacious goal. Now, what I've learned over my career is that when I properly frame it as a BHAG, and I raise that bar of the expectation, put that in the context of a real challenge, I have been blown away by people's ability and willingness to step up and achieve. To step up. People want a mission. They want to achieve that long-term success. So what is a BHAG? Now, I've done a bunch of past shows on BHAGs. I've written about it in the blog. There's a chapter about it in my book. So I'm not going to go in to all the details. You can go check out all those materials. So over at philmckinney.com for the blog, Killer Innovations for the show. And if you're not aware of it, we actually have a site for the book called beyondtheobvious.com. Where actually weekly we pull out excerpts from the book. So you can actually, I think the BHAG's already been posted, so you can go over and search and literally read the entire chapter on BHAGs without having to buy the book. How's that? But you have to frame this. Now, a BHAG is a challenge. It is a very short statement that establishes the challenge, the clear goal, and communicates what does success look like if that goal is achieved. Now, the absolute best BHAG example that I've ever heard and have ever seen is John F. Kennedy's BHAG to establish the mission to put a man on the moon. So John F. Kennedy is standing in front of the U.S. Congress, and he puts the challenge out. And the challenge is that before the end of the century, we will put a man on the moon and return him to Earth safely. That's it. That was the entire BHAG that started the space race, that started the whole program with the Mercury astronauts, the Gemini astronauts, leading to the Apollo astronauts, Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin stepping on the moon, but success was denoted by bringing them home safely. And what's really interesting here is a BHAG is defining the how, or the what, defining the what and the why. It does not establish the how. John F. Kennedy didn't stand there and say, we're going to do it with a 3-stage rocket and a slingshot process around the moon. He didn't define that. He defined the goal, and he left it to the scientists and the experts to define the how. The key with setting this mission is you want to create what I call success memories. When people get on the other side of the project, how are they going to feel about this? Now, I've had a bunch of wildly crazy success memories, things that I lived through, like being one of the founders at Telligent, launching that, growing that, doing an IPO. Many years after Telligent, I still get emails from people that are colleagues from Telligent saying, wow, I've been looking for the same experience that we had at Telligent, because they have that success memory. HP, big success memory for me. OmniPoint, first GSM wireless carrier in New York. I was supposed to go help out for 2 weeks. I stayed 13 months to oversee the launch of OmniPoint in New York City, right? Success memories. Create those success memories. The other is so number 3. Number 2 is create a mission. Number 3, be clear with priorities and objectives. Set clear objectives. Now, the way I do this is I use what's called the Eisenhower matrix. And the Eisenhower matrix is a 2x2 grid. The left-hand side, lower part is not important. The upper part is important. Horizontal columns is urgent and non-urgent. So you get a 4-box grid. So things are up in the upper left-hand corner that are important and urgent are the things that you focus on. So these are very, very important goals, vital customer calls, major deadlines, pressing problems, crises. Those are the urgent and important. Things that have to get cleared, or other things down the line are going to fail. Next is the the important but non-urgent. Important but non-urgent. So these are still very important goals, but it's planning, it's continuous improvement, it's professional development, career development, it's coaching and mentoring, both giving it and receiving it. So those are important. You still need to focus on doing those. The next are the urgent but not important. These are, when you've got like a really long objective list, you got to get rid of it. It's unimportant meetings, it's meaningless reports, it's needless interruptions, it's low priority emails. So they're urgent but not important. The key there is delegate. Delegate. Non-urgent, not important is like workplace gossip, busy work, social media, aimless, surfing, time wasters, irrelevant. Cancel those out. Get those off your priority list. You want to focus on the urgent important and the non-urgent important to create the priorities. And I go through this every day. So show your employees how you prioritize, because it helps them make better decisions. And give permission to the team to say no if the ask doesn't fit the objectives and the priorities. Now, I have a personal set of priorities. These are the priorities I apply when I'm thinking about those things I'm working on. And I call them the 5 F's. Faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances. Don't focus on the finances, where a lot of people tend to focus. I put them in this order: faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances. And if I keep those straight and I keep on that track, everything else works out. I attribute my success in my career, where I'm at in my life, to setting both, using the ability to understand urgent important and non-urgent important, and the 5 F's. So we're going to wrap up here. We're going to step out. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to pick up with number 4 on talking about the 5 innovation leadership hacks that you can apply. We will be right back after this quick commercial break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Before we hop back into this segment, I want to thank our sponsor this week, which is Zoom. Now, Zoom delivers flawless video, clear audio, and one of the best sharing environments when you want to collaborate with your teams. Now, this is not a tool just for innovation or innovators. It's a tool that broadly brings your teams closer together, better execution, better relationships. And let me tell you, I've been using Zoom for the last year, more than a year now, and I use it every day. I have multiple meetings per day in Zoom. I live in Zoom, and my team lives in Zoom. My team is scattered out all over the world. And it's the best tool that I have found. Now, I've tried them all, and Zoom is that first tool that just basically just works. It works every time. It's easy to use, and the audio and the video and the sharing, collaboration is second to none. And I'm not just the one that thinks so. Gartner recently awarded Zoom the leader in the Magic Quadrant for web conferencing. So whatever web conferencing tool you use, if you're not trying out Zoom, step on over and try it out. We have a free account for you. Now, this free account will allow you to meet up with 50 video participants. So try it out. Hop on over to killerinnovations.com/Zoom. Check it out. You can get that free account. And trust me, you will not be disappointed. So let's pick up where we're at. We're talking about those 5 hacks for innovation leadership, the hacks that you can apply today to your leadership role and therefore creating a better team that can have a better shot at executing. So what's number 4? Let others be the hero. Let others be the hero. Yes, you may be appointed the leader of an innovation team, or you're going to head up innovation within an organization. Put the spotlight on others. You don't need to be the one. It's not about you. It's about the impact that your team has. Don't let your ego get in the way. This is hard. When you've been tagged, you are been knighted as the innovation guy or gal for your organization or for your team, and given the importance of innovation, we all think, wow, they see me as a big innovator. Wow, this is great. No. You may have good leadership skills. You may not even be the best person with coming up with the raw ideas, but maybe you're a better person at translating those ideas. You may be good at executing. Whatever the reason is why you are in the role you're in, innovation is a team sport. It is not about you. So go in what I call with a humble servant leadership attitude. Go in, be humble, be a servant leader. Your role is to make members on your team better. It's not about you getting credit. It's not about you getting the accolades. It's not about you getting press articles or interviews or whatever. Now, warning, teams will be or may be suspicious. You come in with this humble attitude, be careful, don't try to fake it, because members on your team will sniff that out. And also, you have to understand where your team members have come from in the past with people who tried to use kind of a humble attitude as manipulation. So you have to earn that trust. Put other people in front. Highlight the success of the team. Highlight the success of the organization. Again, your role is to help them succeed, not for you to get that next promotion, that next bonus, that next raise. As I shared in the last, number 3, we talked about priorities. All right, so I use the Eisenhower matrix as a way to look at every day for the priorities I need to work on. What is it I need to work on? What is it I need to delegate? What is it I need to delete, get rid of? No value, don't do it. If you keep your priorities straight, if you're working on the right things, but you also have your personal priorities. In my case, the 5 Fs. If I keep both of those in sync, everything else tends to work out. Keep your priorities straight. Your priority's not about you. Let others be that hero. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit that this is probably the hardest one I struggled with, particularly younger in my career where I had some wild early successes, which I'm going to attribute to luck rather than any skills or abilities on my part. But that ultimately allowed me to be promoted very, very rapidly at a very, very young age. And I found myself in a situation where I was a director or a VP in organizations where I had people reporting to me that were twice my age. And it's very intimidating. I had a little bit of imposter syndrome challenges, and we've talked about that in a previous show and the challenges that causes when you're leading innovation teams, trying to create high impact, new ideas, new products, new kinds of services. So you have to keep the priority straight. You can't let your ego get in charge, right? In the early days, I was on the cover of magazines. I was on, had a write-up, and, this is going to be late, I'm going to say late 80s, 1989, 1990. If you can find an issue of this particular Business Week, you'll find a profile of me in Business Week in 1990. So what, 27 years ago? So, that was very early in my career. I had some big successes, and I kind of let it go to my head. And I suffered for it. I had a harder time trying to recreate those successes because I thought it was about me versus the team. So don't let that happen, okay? And number 5, we talked about number 4, which is let others be the hero. Number 5, accept the radicals. Hire and accept radicals into your organization. What do I mean by radicals? Those people who just challenge the status quo, who don't operate the same way the others do. They're not afraid to ask the tough questions. Now, my personal secret is when I go into an organization is I find the radicals that others want to get rid of. Most managers will not tolerate radicals. They will want to bounce them out of the organization. I had one individual who I thought was highly creative, strange, unique, highly creative, moved him into my organization. This was at HP. I had a senior executive who literally would talk to me 3 to 4 times a week and say, "Have you fired him yet?" And my answer was no, and I protected him. And I encouraged them. And then when this particular individual wanted to leave, he left. He became one of the founders of one of the top mobile game companies in the world. He's worth 10 times my personal net worth. Easily 10 times my personal net worth. This guy, if I told you his name, you would know who he was. Great guy, but he's a radical. We need radicals. You need radicals on your innovation team. But be prepared. These are going to challenge you. You need to be open to criticism. You need to be open to being asked the really hard questions. And they're not shy about doing this in public. They will do it out in public in front of all the other employees in an all-hands meeting. You need to accept the radicals. Why radicals? Why? Well, they look at problems and opportunities in ways that nobody else does. They're not stuck in the mold of a typical employee. Now, they may have bounced around. They may have gotten fired. You can't identify radicals. You can't discount radicals simply because of what's on their resume. But radicals are the fuel to your organization. They are the fundamental fuel that will kickstart and get your organization, particularly your innovation teams, to go off and challenge. And you need to nurture these radicals. Now, you need to coach them. And, in many cases, particularly this individual that I told you about earlier, great guy, still stay in contact with him. He's had phenomenal career success, unbelievable career success, right? But after he came into my organization, I kept him away from the ultimate high-level senior executives because it was just oil and water. Now, I could deal with it because I saw the value of what he had, but I also protected him. You need to nurture them. You need to encourage them. So again, In this segment, we talked about let others be the hero. Number 5 was accept the radicals. So we're going to step out. We're going to take another quick commercial break. And when we come back, I've got some closing thoughts on these 5 hacks, what you need to do next to really bring those forward for your career success as an innovation leader. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this quick and short commercial break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back. In today's show, we're talking about the 5 hacks that I've used as an innovation leader. And these have been learned by me with lots of scars, right? Such as put others first. It's not about you. Check your ego. As I shared early in my career, I didn't heed that. Nobody gave me that advice, and I suffer. I went through a number of years of what I call the desert, where I had really great early success and then went through a whole string of failures before I kind of stepped back, really was reevaluated what was my early success from as an innovation leader, and then learned to apply that and create these hacks over these years. And this is what's helped me achieve the success that I've had in the innovation game. Now, I'm sure I could come up with more. I just did 5. I'm probably sure there's probably 15 if I really kind of deconstructed everything behind the scenes. But I think these are the 5 that you can get your arms around, that you can easily apply today to your day-to-day life. Now, you need to find your own hacks. You need to look back at your own success, derive your own hacks, and come up with kind of your own set of rules of how you operate. For instance, the first one that I put up was creating a foundation of integrity and transparency. When I look back on my success, my career success, the organizations that I've been part of, integrity and transparency was foundational, was fundamental for that. Find your own hacks and apply those. Create those, live by them, change them, adjust them if you need to. But create a foundation that you build everything else on top of. Because guess what? Innovation is incredibly hard. The antibodies are going to come out and attack you. If you don't have a solid foundation to which to ground yourself, then you're just going to get whipsawed around as you get beat up and pounded on by the innovation antibodies. So again, let's review. The 5 hacks I shared with you today. Number 1, create a foundation of integrity and transparency. That is absolutely foundational. Number 2, create a sense of mission. Make this more than just coming up with a new product or new services or whatever this innovation leadership role in a team you're building or have underneath you. Make it a sense of mission. Create the passion that's far beyond. So look at BHAGs or other ways to encourage or define the mission. Number 3, be clear with priorities and objectives. I use the Eisenhower metrics in order to understand my priorities for the day. I set clear objectives and clear measurements on what constitutes success for my teams. And I have a personal set of priorities that I rank everything else against, which is the 5 F's. Number 4, let others be the hero. Check your ego at the door. Encourage your team members to check their ego at the door. Innovation's a team sport. It's about the team output, not any one individual. And last but not least, and kind of my hidden secret that I used many times to achieve really great success within teams is hire the radicals. Hire the ones that everybody else wants to get rid of, collect them up. Now you got to make sure they meet with your culture that you want within your team. They bring the skill sets, but don't discount somebody just because they're willing to challenge the status quo. Most managers want to kind of keep everything nice and smooth and moving clearly. Hiring the radicals to really challenge you, that is a great way to do it. So hopefully those you'll find helpful that you can apply today to your organization and to your team. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and joining us today. If you have any questions, please go ahead, drop me a note at phil@killerinnovations.com. As you're listening to this show, I'm on the road traveling, so I may be a few days late getting back to you and replies on the email address, but that's a direct email to me. It doesn't get filtered by anybody. So drop me a note, phil@killerinnovations.com. You can also find the show notes over at killerinnovations.com with links to other resources and information, etc. Now, in addition to the show, I post a weekly column on innovation, design, and creativity over on my blog, which is philmckinney.com. So again, check that out. Hop on over to philmckinney.com. Long history. That blog has been up and running since 1996. Yes, 1996. Now, I don't have all the articles back to 1996. I was smart enough to get rid of some of the older stuff, but you can check it out. Again, I post every week. I might miss 1 week every once in a while if I'm traveling really crazily. But the blog is where I go into a little bit longer detail around very specific subjects. You can go search for any topic such as leadership or killer questions or whatever you're particularly interested in. I would also invite you to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I post there multiple times a day, things that I find on articles, resurrecting content that I think you might find interesting, topics that are appropriate for the day. The best way to do that is just search for Phil McKinney, all one word, over on any of the social media sites, and you should be able to find me. Also, check out innovation.tools. It's the online store. We created this store specifically to start aggregating up tools and content. Now, we don't have a lot there today, but, for instance, the Killer Question Card Deck just came out from the printers. It's the 40 questions in a card deck format. The front of the question is the question. On the back of it is the sparking points. People have been asking for the card deck, for probably more than 10 years. It's finally done. Thanks to Seth Taylor, the team at Stoshin, who did the design work on it and oversaw the printing. They look great. They're selling really well. So appreciate that. And again, the proceeds, that any profits left over that I get, I donate to the charities, hackingautism.org and Pioneer Education, which is a school my wife and I are building in Africa. So, can I ask one favor? Can you write a review over on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts? It's a big help. It only takes 15 seconds. Please hop over there. It's a big help. It lets others know about the show, helps us improve the ranking, helps us attract and help more people win in this innovation game. And just remember, the innovation antibodies that are out there, don't let them win. You and your organization's future depends on it. And I truly mean this. Don't let the innovation antibodies get you down. Innovate each and every day. You and your organization's future depends on it. We'll talk with you next week. Bye-bye.